I invited my ex to your brother's wedding. She's basically family. If you trust me, you'll understand.
I smiled and said, "Of course I do." What I didn't add was that I had already made my own plans. Without telling him, I asked her husband to be my date. Let's just say the rehearsal dinner became unforgettable for reasons no one saw coming. Nathan made his announcement at Sunday dinner, right as my mother passed the roasted potatoes and my father poured his third glass of wine. My brother Daniel froze, his fork halfway to his mouth, and my future sister-in-law Lauren kicked me under the table. "Hannah, your ex-girlfriend?" Daniel asked slowly. "To my wedding? The one happening next month." "She's basically family," Nathan said, cutting into his chicken as if he hadn't just dropped a bomb in the middle of the table. "You remember how close we all were?" No one remembered because it had never happened. I sat there watching my husband construct an elaborate lie while my family stared at him, too shocked to speak. And somehow I heard myself say, "Of course, honey. I completely understand." What Nathan didn't know was that I had already saved Michael Price's number in my phone the day before. Hannah's real husband. Before we go on, if you believe betrayal should always be exposed and truth deserves to win, please subscribe to the channel. And tell us which city you're watching from. We love knowing where our stories reach. Now let's see how everything unfolded. The discovery had been pure accident. Saturday morning, I was looking up a yoga studio in Back Bay when Hannah Price's Instagram appeared in my suggestions. The same Hannah Nathan used to date, the one who supposedly moved to Seattle 3 years ago for a tech startup opportunity. Except her recent photos were all tagged in Beacon Hill, brunches in South End, morning runs through Boston Common, and one wedding picture from 2 years ago beside a man named Michael Price, a real estate developer. The caption read, "2 years with my forever." My mother recovered first, though her smile looked painted on. "Hannah, I'm not sure I remember." "Of course you do," Nathan interrupted, reaching for more green beans. "She helped you organize that charity auction for the library." My mother had never organized any charity auction. She volunteered for book sales sometimes, yes, but never anything that fancy. Still, she nodded slowly, too polite to contradict him in front of everyone. "Such a sweet girl," Nathan went on, laying bricks of fiction one after another. "She's been dying to see everyone again. Since she's back in town for business, the timing is perfect." Lauren pressed her hand harder on my knee under the table. She had been my friend before she started dating Daniel and knew everything about my marriage. She knew Hannah had been gone from Nathan's life long before he met me. My father cleared his throat. "Well, if she's important to both of you." "She is," Nathan said firmly, looking straight at me. There was something new in his eyes, not quite defiance but close. "Right, Emily?" The right answer would have been no. The right move would have been to ask why my husband thought it was appropriate to invite his ex-girlfriend to my brother's wedding. But instead I smiled and passed him the butter dish. "Whatever makes you happy, sweetheart." Daniel set down his fork completely. "I don't remember meeting any Hannah." "You were probably away at college," Nathan replied smoothly. Too smoothly. He had practiced this speech. "She was around a lot back then." That was impossible. Daniel had gone to Harvard, barely 40 minutes away. He came home every other weekend for these same dinners. If Hannah had truly been around, he would have known her. We all would have. But Nathan kept going, adding new strokes to his painting of lies. "She knows all the family stories," he said, laughing at some imaginary memory. "Remember that 4th of July at the beach house? We didn't have a beach house. We had rented one once, 5 years ago, long after Hannah had disappeared from his life." Still, my parents exchanged uncertain glances, searching their memories for something that didn't exist while their son-in-law gaslit them over pot roast. The rest of dinner turned into theater. Nathan played the affectionate husband, nostalgic about old friendships. My parents tried to be gracious though confused. Daniel was furious but quiet for my sake. Lauren sat beside him, trembling with indignation. And me, the understanding wife, I just kept cutting my chicken into smaller pieces, pretending not to notice my husband recruiting my family into his deception. After dessert, my mother's famous apple pie that tasted like sawdust that night, Nathan helped clear the table while charming my father with a story about Hannah's supposed new marketing job. Although according to her LinkedIn profile I had memorized the day before, she'd been at the same company for 3 years. In the kitchen, Daniel cornered me near the dishwasher. "What's going on?" "I don't know what you mean," I said softly. His voice was low and urgent. "I've never met this woman. Mom and Dad have never met her. Why is Nathan pretending she's some old family friend?" I focused on scraping the plates, refusing to meet his eyes. "Maybe you just don't remember." "Stop." He caught my wrist gently. "Emily, this is me. Tell me what's happening." Lauren appeared in the doorway, standing guard. From the dining room I could still hear Nathan laughing at something my father said. The sound made my skin crawl. "I can't," I whispered. "Not yet. Just trust me, okay? And act normal about Hannah coming to the wedding." Daniel's face shifted through several emotions before landing on concern. "Emily, please." "I'm handling it." He wanted to argue. I could see it. My baby brother, who once stood up to playground bullies for me, who had screened my boyfriends, who had investigated Nathan before giving me his blessing. But something in my expression made him stop. "If you need anything." "I know." The ride home was silent, except for Nathan humming along to a jazz station. His hand rested on my thigh, too familiar, too possessive. 4 years of marriage had reduced us to this act. 2 people pretending everything was fine while secrets multiplied between us like cancer cells. At a red light, he squeezed my knee. "Thank you for being so understanding about Hannah. I knew you would be. You're not the jealous type." The jealous type. As if betrayal were about jealousy instead of deception. As if inviting your ex-girlfriend to a family wedding was normal behavior for stable couples. "When did she get back to Boston?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "A few months ago, maybe." His hand tightened slightly. "Haven't kept close track." Another lie. Her Instagram showed she had never left. The yoga studio she tagged yesterday was only 6 blocks from Nathan's new gym, the one he joined 2 months ago for his sudden fitness kick. His strict Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule that never changed, never left him sore, never produced a single story about anyone he met there, yet somehow had trimmed 20 pounds off his frame. Back in our apartment, Nathan disappeared into the shower while I stood at the window on the 10th floor, watching the city lights blink like coded messages. Somewhere out there, Hannah Price was probably lounging in her apartment with her husband, Michael, deciding what to wear to my brother's wedding. Did Michael know his wife had restarted an affair? Or was he as blindly trusting as I had been until yesterday? His number burned in my phone. 1 call, 1 text, that's all it would take to compare notes and confirm what I already knew deep down. But not yet. I needed real proof. Something solid enough to survive Nathan's smooth denials and practice charm. The shower stopped. Soon he would climb into bed, kiss my forehead, and fall asleep within minutes, while I lay awake replaying every late meeting, every sudden business trip, every new shirt and unfamiliar cologne. The perfect illusion of our marriage had shattered at my parents' dinner table. But I would keep performing my part a little longer. If Nathan wanted to bring Hannah to Daniel's wedding, then I would make sure she had company. Michael Price would be my date, and together we would give them a reunion they'd never forget. Monday morning, Nathan kissed my forehead before leaving for work. His cologne lingered in the air, something expensive and unfamiliar. The apartment felt different now, as if the walls themselves knew about the act we were both playing. I waited exactly 10 minutes after hearing the elevator doors close before opening my laptop. Hannah's Instagram had become my obsession. Her profile was public, 847 posts, each one a potential piece of evidence. I scrolled carefully, screenshot after screenshot, saving everything in a folder labeled tax documents. Her life unfolded backward before me. Recent yoga classes in Back Bay, wine tastings in Cambridge, art gallery openings where she wore dresses that probably cost more than our mortgage payment. Then I found him. Michael Price appeared first in a wedding photo from 2 years ago, tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes that hinted at too many late nights. The caption identified him as a real estate developer. According to the tag, his own profile was private, but his company page, Reed Development Group, was wide open. The conference schedule on their website made my coffee go cold. New England Business Conference, March 15th to 17th. The same weekend Nathan had claimed to be in Boston for an emergency investor meeting. I remembered the video call where he had tried to show me his hotel room and accidentally revealed the lobby for a second. The Skyline Convention Center, the exact venue listed on Michael's company newsletter. My hands trembled as I cross-referenced everything. Michael's post about productive morning sessions at 9 o'clock, Nathan's text saying breakfast meeting running long at 9:07, and Hannah's Instagram story from that same morning. A coffee cup at the Skyline Lounge, no caption, just her manicured hand with the pearl ring that appeared around the same time as Nathan's mysterious credit card charge. 3 days. That was the window I gave myself to gather evidence. On Tuesday, I called in sick and drove to Nathan's gym during his supposed workout window. His car wasn't there. But 14 blocks away, parked at the valet of a boutique hotel, there it was, the same car. The same hotel where Hannah had posted a selfie 2 hours earlier, claiming she was at a client lunch. Wednesday brought the credit card statements. I had never checked them before. I had trusted Nathan to handle our finances while I took care of the household. The entries read like a confession. The Lexington room, $400 on a night he claimed to be entertaining clients from Tokyo. Except that same evening, Hannah had posted a picture captioned only with a heart emoji and the words, date night. Then came the jewelry purchase. $2,847 from Winston and Hale, 3 weeks earlier. Our anniversary was still 6 months away. I photographed every page with my phone, creating duplicates in case he somehow discovered the folder on my laptop. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, and growing by the hour. A reservation appeared at the Silver Swan restaurant inside Harborview Hotel, supposedly while he was away at a conference in New York. There were theater tickets purchased for a Wednesday matinee when he had texted me about back-to-back meetings. And a charge from Silken Rose, a lingerie boutique, that had certainly produced nothing in my drawers. The most damning discovery came from their synchronized mistakes. Hannah's spa weekend in the Hamptons matched Nathan's so-called golf trip with clients, but the weather that weekend had been torrential rain. No golf course in the state would have been open. Meanwhile, Michael had posted about being in Chicago for a property inspection. For people, 2 affairs, one massive web of lies they had maintained for who knows how long. Thursday night destroyed any remaining doubt. Daniel called while I sat surrounded by spreadsheets of screenshots and receipts. His voice sounded tense and confused. "Emily, what's going on with Nathan? He's called me 3 times about the seating chart." I closed my laptop and pressed the phone closer to my ear. "What about it?" "He keeps insisting Hannah needs a table with a good view of the ceremony. He even suggested moving Aunt Louise to make room for her. Aunt Louise, who's 93 and Dad's favorite sister." Frustration bled through his voice. He had never really warmed to Nathan. "Too smooth," he'd once said, though he tolerated him for my sake. "And get this," Daniel continued. "He offered to pay for Hannah's hotel room. Said it was his wedding gift to us." "What kind of wedding gift is that?" "I don't know," I said quietly, though I knew exactly what kind. The kind that meant he planned to spend the night with her. "Should I be worried? Is everything okay between you two?" The concern in his voice nearly broke me. I wanted to tell him everything, to let him march over here and confront Nathan with the same protective anger he'd had when we were kids. But not yet. "We're fine. Maybe he's just trying to be helpful." Daniel's silence told me he didn't believe a word, but he let it go. "If you need anything." "I know. Thanks." After the call, I sat alone in the dark living room, city lights painting restless shapes on the ceiling. Nathan had planned this for weeks, maybe months. Every detail had been orchestrated to give him a weekend with Hannah while using my brother's wedding as cover. The cruelty of it took my breath away. On Friday morning, I found Michael Price's professional website. Reed Development Group had a sleek, modern layout, and at the bottom of the page was his direct email. I opened a blank message and stared at it for an hour. How do you tell a stranger that his marriage is a lie? How do you introduce yourself as another victim? 20 drafts later, all deleted, I finally typed, Your wife is attending my brother's wedding as my husband's guest. Simple. Direct. Unavoidable. My finger hovered over the send button as rain began tapping the windows. I knew this would change everything. Once I sent it, there would be no taking it back, no pretending I didn't know, no going back to the comfort of the lie. I pressed send at 11:47 that morning. Then I drove to my favorite coffee shop, ordered a latte I didn't drink, and waited. My phone sat face up on the table, silent for hours that felt like days. Customers came and went. The barista asked twice if I needed anything else. The rain stopped, started again, then stopped once more. At 5:15 the next morning my phone buzzed. I've been suspicious for months. Let's meet. 7 words that confirmed everything and revealed nothing. Michael knew, or at least suspected. We were 2 strangers bound by betrayal, about to meet because of the people we had trusted most. I typed back, Seaport District Starbucks, Monday 10 o'clock. His reply was instant. I'll bring proof. Proof. As if my folder of screenshots and receipts weren't enough. As if either of us needed more evidence to know that our spouses had turned our marriages into a stage for their revived romance. The weekend crawled by in excruciating slowness. Nathan went to a Saturday golf outing that lasted 9 hours and came home with dry clothes despite an afternoon thunderstorm. On Sunday he made breakfast, pancakes. His guilt pancakes, as I called them in my head, while he hummed off-key to jazz. I smiled, took 2 bites, and claimed an upset stomach. Monday morning finally arrived. I left the apartment at my usual time but drove past my office, heading downtown toward Seaport. The Starbucks there was already crowded with bankers and lawyers clutching their morning coffees. I ordered an espresso I didn't want and chose a corner seat where I could watch the door. Michael Price walked in at exactly 10 o'clock. I recognized him instantly, not just from photos, but from the careful, deliberate way he moved, like someone who had learned not to trust the ground beneath his feet. He spotted me right away, probably recognizing the same hollow, shell-shocked look in my eyes that I saw in his. "Emily," he said. His voice was deeper than I had imagined, rough and tired. I nodded toward the chair across from me. He sat down heavily, pulled a manila envelope from his messenger bag, and placed it on the table before even ordering coffee. "I brought receipts," he said flatly. 6 months' worth. He slid a stack of papers across the table. Credit card statements marked with highlighter, hotel bills, restaurant tabs. My hands trembled as I picked up the first one. The Ritz Boston Valentine's Day weekend. A charge for $3,200, which included a couple's massage, champagne service, and a late checkout. "Hannah said it was a work incentive trip," Michael explained, his voice dull. "Top performers at her company." Except I called her company. They haven't done incentive trips in 3 years because of budget cuts. The next receipt was from the Lexington room. $400 for dinner for 2, on the night Nathan had claimed he was entertaining clients from Tokyo. "This was their anniversary dinner," Michael said, tapping the date. "The anniversary of when they started dating in college. She celebrates it every year. Used to drag me to fancy restaurants for it. This year she said she was working late." I took out my phone and opened my folder of evidence. Nathan's calendar is full of fake meetings with the Harris account every Tuesday and Thursday. I called Harris's assistant. Those meetings never existed. Michael laughed, a short, broken sound. "Hannah has him saved in her phone as her Pilates instructor. I only found out when her real Pilates instructor called about a scheduling change." We spent the next hour piecing together the choreography of their deception. Coffee shop napkins became our timeline. A messy web of cities, dates, and excuses. Every business trip matched a conference. Every late night aligned with a sudden work emergency. Every weekend apart had been deliberately planned. "Miami conference," I wrote, drawing an arrow to Michael's cruise receipt. "Boston summit," he added, connecting it to my hotel charge. "Golf weekend," I scribbled, linking it to Hannah's spa retreat photos. Once laid out, the pattern was undeniable. They had been carrying on for at least 6 months, maybe longer. The new clothes Nathan had bought, the jewelry Hannah suddenly wore, everything suggested it was escalating. "The wedding," Michael said suddenly, staring at our napkin map. "Your brother's wedding. They're planning something. I nodded, taking a sip of espresso that had long gone cold. Nathan's been obsessed with the seating chart. Wants Hannah at the family table with the best view of the ceremony. She even bought a dress, $3,000 from Whitmore Boutique. She told him it was for her company gala, but I checked. There's no gala. We fell silent for a moment, surrounded by the morning rush of Seaport, people grabbing coffees, phones buzzing, lives continuing as ours came apart. Two strangers united by the collapse of our marriages. What do you want to do? Michael asked finally. What do you mean? We could confront them privately. Pack their things, change the locks, serve the papers. Clean and simple. I thought about it, the rational route, the calm, dignified way to end things. Then I remembered Nathan sitting at my parents' dinner table, lying straight to their faces, pulling my entire family into his delusion. Or, I prompted. Michael leaned back, a faint, humorless smile ghosting across his face. Or we could give them exactly what they want. A wedding together. Just not the one they imagined. You mean I come as your date? You're already invited, he said. They show up expecting their secret reunion and find us together instead. No yelling. No chaos. Just truth. Public, undeniable, impossible to twist. The idea was outrageous, petty, potentially disastrous. It was also perfect. They'd be completely blindsided, I said slowly, feeling the idea take hold. In front of everyone. No escape. No pretending. We ordered another round of coffee. Real coffee this time, not props for our grim conversation, and refined the plan. Michael would arrive separately, timing it so that Nathan and Hannah were already there. We would walk in together at the perfect moment. No shouting, no violence, just quiet devastation served in formal wear. Are you sure about this? Michael asked as we stood to leave. Once we do it, there's no going back. Our marriages will be over. They already are, I said, surprising myself with the calm certainty in my voice. We're just the last to admit it. That evening, I sat in my car outside our apartment building for an hour. Through the 10th floor windows, I saw shadows moving. Nathan was home from work, probably cooking dinner, performing his part as the loving husband while secretly texting Hannah about their weekend. My phone rang. I'm sitting outside my house, Michael said without greeting. Hannah's inside making dinner, acting completely normal. She kissed me hello like she didn't spend Valentine's Day in Boston with your husband. Are we really doing this? I could hear him exhale slowly. I keep thinking maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some explanation. Maybe we're misreading everything. The receipts don't lie, Michael. No, he said quietly. They don't. We stayed on the phone, breathing in silence, the truth between us heavier than any words. Two people sitting in separate cars, watching the glowing windows of our fraudulent lives, drawing strength from the shared devastation. Living this lie is killing me, I admitted quietly. Every morning I make his coffee and pretend I don't know. Every night I sleep beside him and wonder if he's dreaming about her. Last night Hannah told me she loved me, Michael said. She was wearing the earrings I now know Nathan bought her. How do they do that? I asked. How do they separate their lives so neatly? I don't know, he said. I don't understand any of it. Me neither. He paused. But I'd rather burn it all down than keep pretending. Even if we end up alone, we're already alone, Emily. We're just sharing beds with strangers who lie to us. He was right. The loneliness of deception was worse than the loneliness of being truly alone. At least alone I'd have my dignity, my truth, my self-respect. Saturday's rehearsal dinner, I said. The Silver Swan at 7. I'll be there at 7:30, he answered. Give them time to get comfortable. Michael, what if we're making a huge mistake? His laugh was soft, almost gentle. Then at least it'll be our mistake, not theirs. After we hung up, I stayed in the car a little longer, staring up at the windows. Inside, I saw Nathan's shadow moving through the apartment. The life we'd built together and the lie it had become. In 5 days, everything would change. The comfortable illusion would shatter, replaced by whatever came after the truth. It was terrifying. It was necessary. It was time. When I finally walked inside, my legs still unsteady from sitting in the car so long, I found Nathan in the kitchen wearing an apron, something I hadn't seen in 2 years. The air smelled of garlic and rosemary. He was making chicken piccata, my favorite, the dish he'd cooked on our third date when I'd realized I was falling for him. Perfect timing, he said, not looking up from the pan. Dinner's almost ready. Open the Pinot Grigio in the fridge. Tuesday, 5 days until the rehearsal dinner, and suddenly my husband had turned into a character from a romantic movie. I uncorked the wine with steady hands, though inside I was screaming. This was guilt cooking. Every herb, every perfectly placed caper was an attempt to balance an invisible scale. What's the occasion? I asked, handing him a glass. Does there have to be an occasion to cook for my beautiful wife? The word beautiful stuck in my throat. He hadn't called me that in months. Now, with Hannah's arrival looming, I was suddenly visible again. Wednesday brought flowers. Not just any flowers. Peonies. Soft pink peonies from the expensive florist on Beacon Hill, the kind that cost $30 a stem. He had forgotten my birthday last year, but 3 days before his romantic weekend with his ex, he remembered my favorite flower. Saw them and thought of you, he said, kissing my cheek as I arranged them in a vase. His lips felt like a brand, marking me as the fool still pretending not to know. That afternoon, while he was at his so-called gym session, I went shopping. Not browsing, hunting. I needed armor for Saturday night, something that would make me feel powerful when my world came crashing down. The third boutique had it, an emerald green dress that hugged without clinging, elegant yet sharp. The color matched the earrings Nathan had given me on our first anniversary, back when his gifts were still meant for me. The saleswoman held up a mirror as I turned. Special occasion? She asked. You could say that, I replied. A funeral of sorts. She laughed, assuming I was joking. I bought the dress and a pair of heels tall enough to let me look him straight in the eye when everything fell apart. Thursday night, Nathan offered to give me a foot massage after dinner. He pulled my feet into his lap while we watched television, his thumbs pressing expertly into the arches. His phone buzzed every few minutes on the side table. Each time his hands paused and his eyes darted toward the screen, though he never picked it up. The restraint must have been torture. Who keeps texting? I asked lightly. Just work, he said smoothly. Blake's being demanding about the quarterly reports. Blake, his supervisor, had been on vacation in Bermuda all week. I knew because I had tested Nathan's lie by emailing a fake dinner invitation and received his automatic out-of-office reply. I took a photo of Nathan massaging my feet, his wedding ring clearly visible, the television showing the timestamp. I sent it to Michael with the caption, "The guilt's working overtime tonight." Hannah must be getting excited, he texted back. She just spent an hour in the bathroom on the phone with a friend. I could hear her giggling. Friday morning changed everything. I was making breakfast when Nathan walked out of the bedroom dressed in his best casual outfit. Jeans that made him look 10 years younger, the polo that brought out his eyes. I'm picking up Hannah from the airport this afternoon, he announced, pouring himself coffee like it was perfectly normal. Her flight gets in at 3. It's on my way from the office. The airport was 40 minutes in the opposite direction from his office. That's nice of you, I managed, flipping pancakes I wouldn't eat. Well, she doesn't know the city anymore. Another lie. According to her Instagram, she'd been at a wine bar in South End just the night before. I'll probably show her around a bit, he added. Help her get settled at her hotel. Which hotel? The Ritz Boston. I nodded, already knowing Michael had confirmed she had booked a room at the Ritz Boston, the same place where Nathan had a mysterious charge on our credit card. He spent 20 minutes styling his hair, something he hadn't done since our early dating days. Then came the cologne, applied in 3 places, wrists, neck, chest. I watched from the doorway as he adjusted his collar, checking himself in the mirror. You look nice, I said. He startled, not realizing I was there. Just want to look presentable for the wedding weekend. It was Friday. The wedding's tomorrow, right? But there are welcome drinks tonight. There were no welcome drinks. Daniel and Lauren were having a quiet family dinner. After Nathan left, I photographed his growing cologne collection, 3 new bottles in the past 2 months. I documented the receipt for a haircut at a salon that cost $150. Then I found a shopping bag from Westfield department store hidden in his closet, tags still attached to the clothes he hadn't worn yet. He was saving them for tomorrow. At noon, I met Michael at a park in Seaport District. He looked exhausted, sunglasses shielding his eyes despite the gray sky. Hannah asked me to help her pack last night, he said without introduction. Wanted my opinion on outfits. He gave a humorless laugh. She tried on the Marlowe dress and asked if it made her look fat. The same dress she bought to seduce your husband, and she wanted my opinion. Nathan ironed 5 shirts this morning, I said quietly. Then picked the one Hannah once complimented on his Instagram. We sat on a bench watching tourists take photos, 2 strangers living in homes that had become crime scenes. Are we ready for tomorrow? Michael asked. My dress is hanging in the guest room closet. Shoes are polished. I've got our story straight. We met through a professional networking event when I was looking for office space near your company. Hannah mentioned the rehearsal dinner 12 times yesterday, he said. She's been dieting for 3 weeks for this. Nathan got his teeth whitened on Monday. We looked at each other and laughed. Not the kind of laughter that comes from joy, but the kind that escapes when crying would take too much strength. 7:30 tomorrow, Michael confirmed, checking his watch. I'll wait in the lobby until they go in, then give it 5 minutes. They'll be at the family table near the front. Your parents like being close to the podium for speeches. Perfect view for everyone to see their faces when we walk in. We shook hands, formal, almost businesslike, sealing an unspoken deal to end the farce. Michael, I called as he started to leave. What if they try to explain? What if they come up with some story that makes sense? He turned, lowering his sunglasses so I could see his tired, certain eyes. There's no story that explains 6 months of receipts, Emily. No excuse for this kind of deception. They made their choices every single day for months. Tomorrow we're just showing them we know. He was right. Tomorrow would be devastating, but it would also be honest. For the first time in months, maybe years, the truth would finally be visible. Saturday arrived with a cruelly beautiful sky, the kind that mocked the storm building inside me. The Grand Harbor Hotel lobby buzzed with wedding guests, and I stood near the check-in desk watching relatives arrive, each one requiring a performance of normalcy I wasn't sure I could sustain. Emily, darling. Aunt Helen swooped in, her pearls catching the chandelier's glow. Where's that handsome husband of yours? Picking someone up from the airport, I said, accepting her powdered cheek kiss. An old friend. Nathan appeared moments later, his hand finding the small of my back with practiced intimacy. The touch burned through the fabric of my dress. He'd changed into his new West and Ivy suit, the one he'd hidden in the closet. His teeth were blindingly white when he smiled at my aunt. Helen, you look 20 years younger, he said smoothly, and she actually giggled. This was Nathan at his finest, deploying compliments like currency, buying goodwill he knew he would soon need. His phone vibrated against my hip where it sat in his pocket. He didn't check it, but his fingers tightened slightly on my waist. Hannah texting, probably confirming their plans while he played the role of the devoted husband. Such a lovely hotel, Aunt Helen continued. Perfect for Daniel's big day. Speaking of which, where is your brother? Probably having a nervous breakdown, I said, watching Nathan's jaw tighten. He hated when I mentioned Daniel's nerves about the wedding. It reminded him that this was my brother's celebration, not his romantic getaway. More relatives arrived in waves. Cousins from Boston, my father's old business partner, Lauren's extended family from Connecticut. Nathan worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, remembering names, smiling too widely. Every time he thought I wasn't looking, he checked his phone. His tie had been adjusted so many times that the knot was starting to look crooked. My mother appeared beside me during a lull, elegant in her pearl gray dress. Nathan seems nervous, she observed, watching him laugh too loudly at one of my uncle's golf jokes. Is everything all right? He's just excited about the wedding, I said, the truth burning my tongue. He keeps asking about the seating chart. Wanted to make sure someone named Hannah has a good view. Do we know a Hannah? Before I could answer, Daniel appeared in the corridor, still in jeans and a t-shirt, despite the rehearsal dinner being only hours away. He grabbed my arm and guided me toward a quiet corner near the elevators. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tight. "Nathan just cornered me again. He's obsessed with this Hannah person. Offered me $500 to move her to the main family table." $500. I repeated, stunned. He had it ready in an envelope. "What the hell is going on, Emily?" I looked at my baby brother, 6'2" now, but still the kid who once defended me on the playground. His wedding day was tomorrow, and my husband was trying to hijack it for his affair. "Trust me," I said, squeezing Daniel's hand. "Please just get through tonight and I promise everything will make sense." "Emily," he said, uneasy. "You're scaring me a little." "Good," I replied. "Hold on to that feeling. You'll need it later." Lauren appeared radiant in a sundress, looping her arm through Daniel's. "Everything okay?" "Family drama." "The usual," Daniel muttered. She looked at me, her sharp eyes missing nothing. "If you need backup." "I might," I admitted. "Just be ready around 7:30. Back in my hotel room at 5 o'clock, I stood before the mirror in my underwear, the emerald green dress hanging on the bathroom door like a promise. My phone buzzed. A message from Megan, my best friend, my lifeline through this week of insanity. "You've got this," she wrote. "Channel your inner goddess. Destroy them with elegance." The makeup went on like armor, foundation smooth and even, eyeliner sharp as blades. My hand stayed steady despite the earthquake inside my chest. This was happening. In 2 hours the lie would die and whatever came after would at least be real. At 6:45 I zipped up the dress. The emerald fabric transformed me into someone unrecognizable. Someone powerful, dangerous, ready. My phone lit up again. A text from Michael, in position in the lobby. "Hannah just posted an Instagram story from her car. She's wearing the Marlowe. Nathan left 10 minutes ago to get her," I replied. "See you on the other side." One last look in the mirror. The woman in the mirror wasn't the trusting wife who'd smiled through all those Sunday dinner lies. She was someone else. Someone who had gathered evidence like ammunition and chosen truth over comfort. The elevator ride felt endless, each floor counting down to detonation. The lobby was quiet now, most guests already heading to dinner or dressing for the night. My heels clicked against the marble, turning a few heads as I passed. The emerald dress was doing its job. The Silver Swan's private dining room glowed with soft light and fresh flowers. My parents were already inside, arranging place cards with their usual obsessive attention to detail. "Darling, you look stunning," my mother said, her face lighting up. "That dress." "Thanks, Mom." I picked up a place card with Hannah's name and noted its position at the family table, exactly where Nathan had paid to put it. "Everything's perfect," I said softly. A champagne flute appeared in my hand, but I didn't drink. I couldn't risk losing focus, not tonight. At 7:05, cousins began arriving. Lauren's parents, my father's brother from Hartford. I made small talk about the weather, about Daniel's nerves, about anything except the explosion waiting to happen. 7:10. My phone vibrated. "They just walked in together," Michael texted. His hands on her back. "They're laughing." I typed back, "Incoming." Then I positioned myself with a clear view of the entrance, champagne in hand, smile fixed in place. The avalanche was already rolling, unstoppable now. The door opened. Nathan walked in first, wearing the expression of a man who believed he was getting away with everything. Behind him was Hannah in her Marlowe dress, blonde hair cascading over bare shoulders, looking exactly like the kind of woman men ruined marriages for. They moved through the room like a couple, her hand brushing his arm, his guiding touch subtle but unmistakable. My mother noticed first. I saw her expression shift from warmth to confusion. My father's eyes narrowed. Daniel rose slowly from his seat. Nathan brought Hannah straight to me, probably thinking he could neutralize any tension with charm and confidence. He had no idea he was walking into his own execution. "Darling," he said, leaning in to kiss my cheek while Hannah watched, her satisfaction poorly hidden. "This is Hannah. Hannah, my wife, Emily." "So lovely to finally meet you," Hannah purred, extending a manicured hand. Nathan's told me so much about you. I took her hand, noting the pearl bracelet that matched the earrings Nathan had bought, the final piece of her set. Has he? I said smoothly. How interesting, since he's told me almost nothing about you. The door opened again. Michael entered like he owned the room, 6'3", broad-shouldered, in a charcoal gray suit that made him look like a man come to collect a debt. He paused in the doorway, scanning the room with deliberate calm, letting every pair of eyes find him before he moved. Conversations near the entrance fell silent first, then the hush spread like a wave as heads turned toward him. Sorry I'm late, he said, his voice cutting clean through the stillness. Traffic was murder. The champagne glass slipped from Hannah's hand. The crystal shattered against the marble floor with a sound like breaking bells. Golden champagne splashed across Hannah's Marlowe dress and her designer shoes. The entire room froze, watching the liquids spread between tables like spilled secrets. Michael, Hannah whispered, her voice strangled. Her face turned the color of old parchment, all that expensive makeup standing out against bloodless skin. Nathan jumped up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. You weren't invited. This is a private event. Actually, I said, standing slowly, smoothing the emerald fabric of my dress with deliberate calm, he's my date. Michael, honey, come sit down, you're right next to me. The word honey hit the room like a grenade. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Daniel's mouth fell open. Lauren pulled out her phone and I caught the red recording light blinking. What's going on? My father demanded, his voice carrying the weight of a man who had built a business from nothing and didn't tolerate nonsense. Michael walked forward through the wreckage of glass, his shoes crunching on the shards. What's going on, he said evenly, is that my wife and your son-in-law have been having an affair for at least 6 months. He took out his phone, swiping with precision. Should I start with the Coral Bay resort trip she called a work incentive? Or maybe the New England Business Conference where they shared a room at the Skyline Convention Center? We didn't, Hannah stammered, trying to stand, but her heel caught in the wet fabric of her dress. Save it, Michael said, his voice flat and cold. I have receipts, credit card statements, text messages where you saved his number as your Pilates instructor. Really, Hannah? Pilates? Nathan's expression cycled through shock, anger, calculation, finally settling on denial. This is ridiculous. Hannah and I are old friends. Emily knows that. She understands. I understand plenty, I cut in, pulling my own phone from my clutch. Like how your Harris account meetings never existed. Harris's assistant confirmed that. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 6 months, you were in those fake meetings. My cousin Nicole gasped audibly. Someone dropped a fork. The jewelry receipt was interesting too, I continued, scrolling through the folder on my phone. $2,800 at Winston and Hale 3 weeks ago. Our anniversary isn't for another 6 months, Nathan. But Hannah's wearing new pearls tonight. What a coincidence. Hannah's hand flew to her throat, covering the pearl necklace like she could hide it. The hotel charges were my favorite, Michael added, gaining momentum. The Ritz Boston, 4 times in the past 2 months, always when Hannah had client dinners and Nathan had conferences. My mother rose slowly, her face a portrait of fury restrained by decades of etiquette. Is this true? Have you been carrying on with this woman while married to my daughter? Nathan spread his hands in mock innocence, trying charm one last time. This is being blown out of proportion. Hannah needed support during a difficult time. I was being a friend. A friend doesn't buy lingerie, Michael said quietly, and the room went silent. $800 at Silken Rose. I found the receipt in her jewelry box, tucked under the earrings you bought her. Hannah made a sound like a wounded animal. Michael, please, let's talk privately. Privately? Michael laughed, harsh and bitter. Like your private conversations with him? Your private trips? Your private hotel rooms? No, I think public is perfect. Everyone here should know what kind of woman is attending this wedding. My father stood up, slowly, deliberately, like a judge preparing to deliver a sentence. Nathan, Hannah, you both need to leave. Now. But, Nathan began. Now. my father said again, his voice leaving no room for argument. Before I have hotel security escort you out. Daniel finally found his voice. Wait. Everyone turned to look at him. Emily, did you know? Did you plan this? I met my brother's eyes across the room. I found out 2 weeks ago. Michael and I compared notes. We decided if they wanted to attend a wedding together so badly, they should have their wish. Just not the way they imagined. The room erupted. Aunts whispering to uncles, cousins staring wide-eyed, Lauren's parents frozen in shock. My mother, the queen of composure, did the unthinkable. She started laughing. Not hysterically but with genuine delight. That's my daughter, she said, raising her champagne glass. That's my brilliant daughter. Hannah stood, trembling, champagne dripping from her ruined dress. This is entrapment. You planned this. We planned this. I repeated, my voice sharp as glass. You've been planning an affair for months. We just planned its ending. She grabbed Nathan's arm. We're leaving. But Nathan wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me. For the first time since it began, I saw something real in his eyes. Not guilt or rage, but the heavy realization of what he'd destroyed. Emily, don't. Just don't, I said. Hannah pulled him toward the door, her heels clicking frantically on the marble. At the threshold, Nathan turned back. This isn't over, he said, his voice low and threatening. I raised my champagne glass, finally taking a sip of the drink I'd held for nearly an hour. Actually, I said, calm and certain, it is. My lawyer will be in touch on Monday. They left, Hannah's Marlowe dress swishing behind her, Nathan's shoulders stiff with humiliation. The door closed behind them with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. For one suspended heartbeat, the room stayed frozen. Then Uncle George started clapping. Slow, deliberate. Aunt Helen joined in. Within seconds, half the room was applauding while the other half sat in stunned silence. Michael walked toward me and extended his hand, formal as ever. Thank you for inviting me, he said. That was therapeutic. I shook his hand, feeling the same faint tremor in both our grips. Thank you for coming, for being brave enough to face this. They chose this, he said quietly so only I could hear. Every single day for months they chose this. We just chose to stop pretending we didn't know. A waiter appeared with a broom, sweeping up the shards of crystal. The symbolism was almost too perfect, cleaning up the glittering wreckage of our marriages, piece by piece. Daniel stood and lifted his glass. Well, this is definitely going to be a wedding weekend no one forgets. A nervous ripple of laughter passed through the room. Slowly, people began to move again, conversations picking up in hushed tones. The rehearsal dinner would continue, but everything had changed. The comfortable lies were gone, replaced by uncomfortable truth. My father appeared beside me, resting a steady hand on my shoulder. Are you all right? I thought about it. My marriage was over. My husband had been exposed as a liar in front of everyone I loved. Tomorrow was my brother's wedding, and I had turned the rehearsal dinner into a scandal. I will be, I said, and for the first time in weeks I actually believed it. A waiter hovered nearby, looking terrified as if defusing a bomb. Should I serve the main course? My mother, ever the hostess even in chaos, straightened her posture. Yes, please. We're still celebrating my son's wedding tomorrow. Michael and I ended up seated together at the family table. The empty chairs where Nathan and Hannah should have been gaped like missing teeth. My Aunt Nicole leaned across, patting my hand with her papery fingers. I never liked him, she whispered conspiratorially. Too much cologne. Men who wear that much cologne are always hiding something. Uncle George raised his whiskey. To unexpected entertainment, and family members with backbone. The toast rippled around the table, glasses lifting with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some relatives looked scandalized, others delighted by the drama. My grandmother, 91 and sharp as a blade, cackled from her wheelchair. Best rehearsal dinner I've been to in 70 years, she announced. Better than my nephew's when the bride's father punched the groom. Daniel stood, tapping his knife against his glass until the room quieted. Everyone waited for his response. The groom whose rehearsal dinner had just turned into a battlefield. Well, he said, glancing straight at me. My sister just gave us a story that'll last for generations. My kids will hear about Aunt Emily's legendary rehearsal dinner takedown. He raised his glass higher. So here's to Emily, who reminded us all that truth, even when it's ugly, is better than a beautiful lie. The applause this time was genuine. Lauren blew me a kiss from across the table. My father reached over, squeezing my shoulder. A silent message that meant more than any speech could. Michael picked at his salmon, looking dazed now that the adrenaline was fading. Did we really just do that? We did, I said. He nodded slowly. My wife of 3 years just ran out covered in champagne with her affair partner. My husband of 4 years just got exposed in front of my entire family. We looked at each other and started laughing. Not happy laughter, but the kind that bubbles up when crying would take too much energy. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of polite conversation. No one mentioned Nathan or Hannah. People talked about the weather, the flowers, anything safe. Michael and I ate quietly, two shipwreck survivors sharing the same life raft. At 10 o'clock, as guests began to leave, my father pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, he said softly. That took courage. And don't worry about lawyers. I'll cover whatever you need. Sunday dawned bright and perfect. The kind of September morning that makes you believe in new beginnings. I stood in my lavender bridesmaid dress, the one Lauren had chosen months earlier, watching her and Daniel exchange vows in the hotel garden. No empty chairs, no unwanted guests, just two people promising to love each other honestly. When it came time for the readings, I stepped up to the microphone with Mary Oliver's poem about resilience. My voice stayed steady through the line. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? A few guests dabbed at their eyes, hearing the unspoken meaning beneath the words. During the father-daughter dance, my dad leaned close and whispered, Robert Henson is the best divorce attorney in the city. You've got an appointment Tuesday. Dad. No arguments, he said firmly. That man humiliated you publicly. We're going to make sure he pays for it. Later, during the bouquet toss, Lauren aimed directly at me. We both knew it, and I caught it without even trying. The crowd cheered, but I immediately handed the bouquet to my 16-year-old cousin Chloe. Your turn for fairy tales, I told her. I'm taking a break from wedding traditions. Everyone laughed, knowingly. The story had already spread through the reception like wildfire. Nathan's absence was explained in whispers, each retelling adding new details, some true, some imagined. My phone buzzed during the cake cutting. I'd forgotten I'd turned it back on. 27 new messages, mostly from numbers I didn't recognize. Then I saw it, Hannah's new post on Instagram shared by a mutual acquaintance. Sometimes you learn that people you trusted are toxic. When someone's ex-spouse can't let go and creates elaborate scenes to humiliate you, it shows their true character. Rising above the negativity and focusing on my truth. The audacity took my breath away. She was trying to flip the narrative, painting herself as the victim of a jealous ex-wife. At first, the comments were sympathetic. Friends who didn't know better offering hearts and encouraging words. Then Michael struck back. He posted a simple timeline on Facebook, tagging just enough mutual connections to guarantee visibility. February 14th, Hannah at work retreat. Receipt, the Ritz Boston for 2. March 15th, 17th, conference. Hotel charges matching Nathan's stay at Skyline Convention Center. April 22nd, work clothes. Receipt, Silken Rose $800. May 10th, client dinner. Reservation for 2 at the Lexington Room. Receipts don't lie. People do. Within an hour, Hannah's post disappeared. The comments on Michael's timeline exploded. Friends expressed shock, took sides, shared suspicions. Someone from her company confirmed there had been no retreat in February. Another mentioned seeing her at dinner with a man who wasn't her husband. By Monday morning, Nathan had texted 18 times. I didn't read them, I just took screenshots for the lawyer. Then his sister called, then his mother, both leaving voicemails about working things out, and not throwing away a marriage over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. 6 months of lies, planning, and betrayal reduced to a misunderstanding. That evening, Megan showed up with wine and cardboard boxes. "We're erasing him," she declared. "Every trace." We went through the apartment methodically. His clothes went into boxes labeled with the dates of his fake meetings. Harris account, February 10th. Golf weekend, March 3rd. His toiletries, his books, his vintage watch collection he'd bought with our savings. 4 years of marriage fit into 12 boxes. "You want to keep anything?" Megan asked, holding up our wedding album. I took it, flipped through once. There we were, young, naive, believing in forever. Then I handed it back. "Ship it to his mother." She paid for the photographer. Tuesday brought lawyers. Wednesday brought apartment hunting. Thursday brought paperwork that turned our marriage into a business dissolution. Nathan had already moved into a small studio in Cambridge. According to his attorney, Hannah's marketing firm had suddenly lost 2 major clients who'd heard about the scandal through Boston's tight professional circle. Friends came out of hiding, each beginning with the same refrain: "I always thought something was off. The way he looked at his phone. How he never brought you to work events. That time I saw him at dinner when he said he was traveling. Funny how clarity only arrives after everything explodes." 3 months passed in a blur of paperwork and quiet evenings. Then on a Tuesday morning, an ordinary manila envelope arrived from Henson and Associates. The divorce papers were ready. I sat at my kitchen table, my table now, not ours, and took out the Mont Blanc pen Nathan had given me for our 2nd anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me as I signed my married name away with his gift. Each signature felt like shedding old skin. Emily Reed dissolving back into Emily Foster, the woman I had been before him. I had believed in forever with a man who treated marriage like convenience. I texted Michael. "Papers signed. Meet for coffee? Seaport Starbucks in an hour. We need to celebrate." He was already there when I arrived, 2 lattes waiting. He looked different, lighter somehow, as if gravity had loosened its hold. His wedding ring was gone, a pale band of skin still marking where it used to be. "To freedom," he said, raising his paper cup. "To surviving," I replied. We clinked cups and laughed at the absurdity of toasting our divorces with coffee shop lattes. "Did you hear about Nathan?" Michael asked, scrolling through his phone. "His LinkedIn says he's seeking new opportunities." Translation: fired. The partners at his firm apparently hadn't appreciated the bad publicity. Something about professional ethics and reputation. He'd updated his title to consultant, the polite term for unemployed. "Hannah's not doing much better," Michael added. "She lost 3 clients last month. Turns out no one wants their brand handled by someone infamous for wrecking marriages at a rehearsal dinner." I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt nothing, just quiet acceptance. Their downfall wasn't revenge, it was gravity. Actions meeting consequence. "Are you seeing anyone?" Michael asked suddenly. "Random question," I said, smiling. "Well, I am," he admitted. "She's a pediatrician at Boston General. Works real night shifts. No mysterious conferences. No Pilates instructors." I smiled for him, really smiled. "That's wonderful, Michael." He lifted his cup again. "Your turn." "Anyone?" Michael asked. I thought for a moment about Andrew, the chef I'd met at the farmer's market 3 weeks earlier. He'd asked for my number while holding heirloom tomatoes, his hands stained purple from beets. On our first date, he couldn't hide where he'd been. His fingers smelled faintly of rosemary from prep work. "Maybe," I said. "A chef." It's early days. But a chef's the perfect built-in lie detector. Can't claim he was at work if he doesn't smell like garlic. After that, Michael and I met monthly at the same coffee shop, the same corner table. Not because we were clinging to shared trauma, but because we'd become actual friends. Who else could understand the specific heartbreak of discovering your spouse's affair through Instagram stories and credit card receipts? Catherine joined us once, curious to meet the woman who had helped Michael through his divorce. She was lovely, warm, direct, with the kind of tired eyes that come from real night shifts, not fabricated ones. "Most people just say, 'Move on,' like it's that simple," she said. "They don't understand that betrayal rewires your brain. You helped him not go through that alone." Andrew met Michael the next month. They bonded instantly over their disbelief that anyone could throw away a marriage for an affair. I barely have the energy to shower after service, Andrew said, flour under his nails from kneading bread. Keeping a double life sounds exhausting. 6 months later, Andrew and Lauren's first anniversary arrived. My parents hosted a small family dinner in the same dining room where Nathan had once announced Hannah's invitation. Only now the air was filled with genuine laughter instead of lies. Andrew brought dessert, individual chocolate soufflés he'd made that morning, each one perfect. He charmed my mother with stories about his grandmother's recipes, helped my father with the grill, and didn't check his phone once. The absence of deception was intoxicating. When Daniel clinked his glass for speeches, he called me up first. "My sister taught us something important at our rehearsal dinner," he said, smiling. "She showed us that truth, even when it explodes like a bomb at a formal event, is still better than living a lie." He lifted his glass higher. "So here's my anniversary toast. May we all have the courage to trust with verification, love with respect, and, if necessary, blow up a rehearsal dinner to save ourselves from beautiful deceptions." The room erupted with laughter and applause. Across the table I caught Michael's eye. He was there with Catherine. Both of them glowing with the quiet joy of honest love. We raised our glasses to each other, survivors acknowledging victory. When it was my turn to speak, I talked about trust being earned through consistent truth, not assumed through proximity. That real love doesn't require secret meetings or hidden contacts. That a marriage built on honesty might be less thrilling than one built on deception, but it's far less likely to explode over champagne and flowers. Trust isn't blind faith, I concluded, looking at Daniel and Lauren. It's earned through 1,000 small truths. And if someone asks you to trust them while acting suspiciously, remember, actions always speak louder than manipulative words. That night, back in my apartment, fully redecorated, every trace of Nathan erased, I sat with the journal Dr. Cooper had recommended. The therapist who had helped me understand that exposing the affair publicly wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. I wrote about Nathan's words, the ones that had started it all. "If you trust me, you'll get it." He'd been accidentally prophetic. I had trusted him. And I did get it. I got that trust without verification leads straight to deception. That love without respect turns into manipulation. That staying in a beautiful lie hurts far more than facing an ugly truth. But mostly I got myself back. The woman who had existed before I shrank myself to fit into Nathan's deceptions. The one who could now spot a lie from a distance. Who valued truth over comfort. Who had learned that the best revenge isn't destroying someone else. It's rebuilding yourself into someone who can never be fooled again. My phone buzzed. Andrew had texted, "Closing soon. Saved you the last piece of chocolate cake. Also, I smell like fish stock, so you'll know exactly where I've been." I laughed, real, unguarded laughter. This was what honest love looked like. Unglamorous, verifiable, and somehow more romantic than any grand lie. I closed the journal and looked out at the city lights. The same skyline that had witnessed my marriage fall apart. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Next month would test new boundaries. Next year would carry new struggles. But tonight I was free. Free from lies. Free from manipulation. Free from wondering where my husband really was. Free to trust again, but this time with my eyes wide open. Knowing that real love never asks you to ignore what's right in front of you. The Mont Blanc pen sat on my coffee table, a reminder that sometimes the best gifts come from the worst people, and that sometimes endings written with expensive pens lead to better beginnings written in simple truth. If this story of betrayal and brilliant revenge left you speechless, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Michael walked into the rehearsal dinner and Hannah's champagne glass shattered on the floor. What was your favorite moment? Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget, subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss another story.